You can see it working.
All right.
It'll take a second. And more ones in here.
All right, I got to head into the room.
Yeah, that's fine.
Alert.
Okay. Okay. So I'm first going to introduce us, and then I'm going to have everyone do something, and we're going to all share this. So welcome to YNS Live and a new show. So this is YNS Live with the DiStefano Group. This is Gina DiStefano, and we're so excited to bring you this new show. So we're kind of introducing it here first, but I want everyone to do something. So Gina is streaming for the first time on LinkedIn. So Gina, I want you to open your computer. Hi, Marwan. How are you? Oh, Brian said, it's working. Congrats. Thank you, Brian.
Oh, it is. Well, it's not letting me go live right now from my computer.
So it's not no. So it's not, when you click live, it won't do that?
From my computer? I have everything.
No, so you should see, if you go to LinkedIn.
Yeah, I'm in here.
And we're just doing it for a test, so everyone can look. If you go to LinkedIn.
Yep.
Do you see that you're live on the top of your LinkedIn?
It says go live now. And then my little thing won't let me click go live. I broke something.
What do you mean you broke something?
I don't know. It's frozen. Copy.
Okay, that's all right. Brian said it was working, but maybe it's just working from mine, but that's all right, because we can then just share it. But I think that you probably are working and you just don't realize them. Let me see if I go to yours. So everyone just pause for a second.
Yeah, bear with us. My apologies for technical.
No, this is awesome.
See the little go live button that's not lit up. That's how I'm like, it's not lighting me up.
Okay. So maybe because now when you're in your Fireside, do you see at the top where it says simulcast issues?
No. But like when I'm a guest though, can I just go to broadcast to the world?
Yes, you can do that. 100% you can do that. And you can send it to all the places. So if you go to my LinkedIn, you'll see where it's like right at the top of my banner. It is, and then you can maybe join live there. Well, we'll playing around with this. We're excited here, guys. My Facebook is not working, so I'm going to broadcast this to the world. I'm actually going to broadcast share with followers. Okay, so this is a new show brought to you by YNS Live. And so I just wanted to kind of say hi to everyone. We threw this together, so we know that there's, people listening here on LinkedIn. There's people, YouTube. My Facebook is not working right now. There is Twitch. All of you on Twitch that I know die for YNS Live.
I know. I love my debut as co-host is already messed up. So this is making me look fabulous. So thank you all for bearing with us. I have been on this a million times. In the audience and hopping on and doing test runs for you. And now when I'm actually on it.
Yeah. So this is Gina's debut as a co-host for a podcast, which is really exciting. And I kind of came up, we've had the idea because we're going to take you through what we're doing. But I said to her, we need to be doing this also on Fireside, because Fireside gives us the ability to stream in so many places. It gives the audience a ability to ask questions. So guys, whoever's in the audience, please ask questions. the thing that's exciting, I said to her, we need to do this because this is really what we're doing is more of a business to business kind of thing. So LinkedIn is where we want to stream. I said, we both can do it from Fireside, which is really exciting. So we got Gina she's a creator now on Fireside. And we got that done within seconds. So that is why she's like, oh my God, I can't believe it's not working.
That's why LinkedIn's not working, because, if one thing goes really smooth.
I know, but if I want you to go, we're just going to wait for 1 second too. If you guys can just pause for a second. I want you to go to the two little lines down at the bottom, Gina, of your.
Yep.
Okay. And see where it says show settings?
Mm-hmm.
Do you see where it says there's like view participants, transcript, and then it'll say simulcast everywhere?
Yep.
Okay. Is everything green there?
Yeah, here's the thing with that, though. It's the same back to, I got Facebook Live, and it's not going to let me do my other until I cut and paste that, which was the...
Oh, okay, great. So you know what? Some of it's working, some of it's not working. We are going to, but this is the thing. This is why I love live shows. And I love what we are doing. So, Gina, do you want to, right now, if you guys, and I'm going to kind of give a little update here, and then I'm going to change this fortune cookie so you guys can find out where we are in real time. So Gina was a guest way back when I first started my podcast. And she was the CEO for a nonprofit is when I met her. And that was during COVID. And if you guys have not heard Gina's story, you can go back and it's all over your next stop. So, and she'll give a little kind of history there as well. But the thing that's exciting is when we met, we stayed in touch and we started talking about collaborating. Like, how can we need to do more stuff. We really have great synergy. We both have great energy. We just really clicked and connected. So what we have been working on is a system, and it's a system. Basically what we're doing right now is we're working with HR and recruiting companies and Gina, do you want to kind of jump in what we're doing right now and why we're starting okay, pause again. Sorry. Why we're
You're so excited. Okay.
Yeah. Why we're starting the podcast. Gina's going to tell you what we're doing, but why we're starting this series and why we're doing this show is because we want to bring this to more people. And that's what's so awesome about Fireside and doing live shows, broadcasting live, whether you're doing live LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, wherever. But the fact that Fireside lets you kind of do this all. And I've been a creator on Fireside now for a long time and have some really steady shows on here. The thing that's exciting is that we're able to bring it to a bigger audience because what we're doing is we're talking, as I said, to HR and recruiting companies. We're doing this right now, but we started this series when we started it today, introducing it is because we want to now share with you guys. You might be like, oh my God, I work for a company that totally needs this. Or, okay, I'm the hiring HR manager. I need these ladies in to teach what we're going to tell you that what we're doing. But that's what's so exciting about this. So Gina, why don't you give like a little background of who you are and then what our system, like we're going to give you a little like highlight of what our systems are. And my hands are going everywhere. It's so
I know. And I love your red nails. I have red lips. You have red nails. It's like we coordinated and I love it. And you never have your nails done. So I'm going to need to know why you did that later. Anyway, yeah. So thank you. And hello everyone. It's so exciting to be back. Live on Fireside. So a little bit about my background is I actually started in recruiting 20 years ago in DC, and that was the foundation to everything I do now. I own a consulting firm, which I've owned for about 10 years in people development and HR, but back to my roots of recruiting, where I basically learned everything. And now, fast forward 20 years, and I'll save you the long in-between story. I was, working in recruiting. I worked internally and externally. I worked for Taco Bell corporate. I worked basically every industry, not just doing recruiting, but doing all the ins and outs of HR and people development. Stepped out to be a CEO for a national nonprofit, which is where I met Juliet a few years ago. And through collaborating with Juliet's talents, as you're well-versed in what she does with storytelling and interviewing and all the incredible shows she has. And with my background in recruiting and people development and corporate, and knowing what we know with all the, how can I put this lightly? I guess I could say inefficiencies, problems with culture and people and working and hiring the wrong people and turnover and retention. And I've heard it for years, working not only as a recruiter myself, but with my company and companies that I've run. the same problem. And Julia and I, through doing a lot of work together, kind of figured out that the problem really lies in people's inability to connect and to understand where somebody is coming and to meet people where they are. And what we do when we hire people, we get nervous and we go through our standard Q&A, and you're not really ever getting to know someone, and you're not really getting an understanding of who they are, how they're going to acclimate and align to your culture and your company. And then we have bad hires and we have bad culture. So not only is our company not running well because the people are in the wrong positions or they're not doing their jobs properly. So then if your culture and your company is not working well, and now we're trying to hire, what kind of people do you think we're bringing in? And we're not bringing them in to good situations and the truth sometimes. So Julia and I collaborated and came up with this system that teaches not only the foundation of recruiting and onboarding and the things that you absolutely need to have a solid onboarding process, but the nitty gritty of when we have the conversations of people and how we're describing who we are as a company and as an organization from that side of the hiring manager, and the other side for the candidate process too, of teaching. It's twofold, of teaching them how to share their stories and tell their stories. And then what we're actually doing is you're creating brand ambassadors for your company. So you're able to hire great people through articulating your story well, and people are able to really share who they are through your modeling the behavior.
And I want to say, so anyone in HR or recruiting that's sitting there going, wait, is this going to be like a vulnerable thing? No. We're teaching you in a corporate setting. We're not talking, you telling the person about your deepest, darkest secrets. That's not where this is coming from. This is coming from where you're connecting with someone. I have been doing interviews now for a number of years. It's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of interviews. And what I found, and why Gina and I partnered on this, is what I found is if you are active listening to someone, you are able to see when someone gets excited. You can see where Gina and I are excited. We are really excited about this because we're already starting to do this and roll this out. And the responses that we're getting are huge. So we're like, you know what? This is why we started the podcast at this time, because we want to take you through this journey. We want to show you, just like I do on my podcast, when you create something in your mind and you take the steps and the actions to do it, beautiful things happen. So what we're going in and we're talking to the hiring managers, we're talking to HR, we're talking to recruiting companies about finding those little subtle things. And this is what we're teaching. We're not going to tell you this now. This is where if you are like, wait, I need to know more because I am a hiring company and, an HR company or recruiting, and we are not having employees stay. We're not having even our highest level employees stay and be happy. And there's reasons why that is. And with all of the research and all the background that both of us have and the expertise that we have, that is why we're coming to you right now and sharing this. But if you watch someone and listen, when you're active listening and watching someone, there is very subtle cues that they give off when there's something that they're excited about, what they're passionate about. And that's where, if you're interviewing and you're doing the standard interview, and Gina and I, when we present what we're doing, the system that we're doing, the thing that's really fun is we even do a role play.
That's the best part of the presentation is the role play. We debut our acting skills.
It really, really is. But there are certain things, and all of you know that are out there that are in this position, whether you were an interviewer, whether you were an interviewee, you've been in the situation where you just get those standard questions, or you're just going into the marketplace and you Google, how do you answer the questions, right? If you're just out of college. And that's what we want to break. There's the
transactional interview, the methodical cliche, and it's happening over and over. And that's when, so another part of my business too, as a consultant, is to go in and to fix executive leadership teams and to fix the culture. But it starts with, you got to stop doing what you've been doing in the same way, because you're going to get the same people and the same results. And then they call and they don't understand why, again, they're on their third or fourth CEO, or their turnover is ridiculous. And it starts with the culture, and it starts with top-down leader-led of how you're talking about who you are and what you're doing and why you're special. And that is a talent. That is an art. And it's not taught. And it's not taught in a lot of large recruiting firms that are professional interviewers in recruiting. They're still doing a lot of transactional type interviews and not getting the kind of information. So therefore, they're sending the wrong candidates to the hiring managers who are also in that transactional mindset that are thinking, okay, they've been vetted by this recruiting or staffing firm. And so now we just have to go through our kind of transitional thing. Little do they know that everyone's doing the same thing. And that, I think, is what is so unique about the system that we created, is it's out of the box, but it's not so far out of the box we're getting sued. Because that's another thing. Right. In 20 years of HR, one thing I'm very well trained in is how not to get sued. So to Juliet's point, it's about sharing. Yeah, there is a piece of vulnerability to when you're sharing your story and combining your personal and professional life, yet staying in the confines of not making people uncomfortable, not making yourselves a liability. But this is something that has not really been tapped into. The research and studies that we've looked at and our market research, this is not being done, which is why people are so interested in hearing about this system and are very interested in applying it to their organizations.
Yeah. And again, anyone in the audience that's just joining, I see Dave. My eyesight is so bad that I can't.
Do you need to clean can you tell the funny story about how you thought you...
I thought I was blurry, and it was because my kids had their little meaty fingers all over my computer.
She just did a little wipe down, and she's Crystal.
Fiona, Brian, yep, and Ian. So if you guys have questions, please, we want you to jump up and ask. But the thing that's really, I don't like to give COVID any more legs than it should have. But if we have not learned anything in the business world after COVID, is things changed, right? Companies stayed home. People saw that, okay, some of it worked. Some employees worked better at home. Others didn't. But now that we have opened back up and companies are opening back up, I'm in the New York City area. So I've seen it where, okay, these companies, we're back 3 days a week. We're back 2 days a week. They're coming from the top, as Gina said. They're not always listening. They're not listening to what their employees, what worked. And if COVID taught us anything in the business world, is that when you have happy employees, is when your company is going to grow. It's when your bottom line,
your profitability. And that's the first thing employers want, right? We want to drive our bottom line. We need to increase profitability. And the last place they're putting money is into their people development, which should be the first place. Your people first, then your marketing, then your technology. Stop throwing money at technology and these issues when and this is what people really don't look at, because we do understand how hard it is to develop people. That's one of the most challenging things to do. But again, post-COVID now, there's different mindsets. People don't want to go back into the office, yet sometimes they should be going back into the office. That's another great thing about this platform, is that we're going to be able to have guests that are owners, leaders, to talk about, their opportunities, and the other side of having employees, people in the workforce coming on and saying, well, this is stuff that can be improved. And that way we can tweak other systems too. And both separate from this system that we also do in our work, we can address those things. So it's a great opportunity to hear both sides and know that this system can help both sides. It can help you 100% if you're looking to transition out of a job and don't know how to do that and enter back into interviewing, do that. And also on the side, if you are a hiring manager, an owner, and you're really struggling with the conversation piece and getting the information you need out of interviews, we can 100% help with that and improve it.
Yes. And again, as you can hear, Gina and I are both very excited, because not only have we built and created this, but we've been working for a long time on, okay, let's get all our market research. Let's see here, what is working, what is not working. How can we hone it? How can we take our expertise from what we both are really good at and combine it together to then really help businesses? And again, it's about the bottom line. And, we're not living in a unicorn world. It is about the bottom line. And, some people, if you have employees that, work because they want to, please their boss, or they work because they're excited to be like the leader, but it really is not about the paycheck. It doesn't matter. It's still, if you know how they work best, it's going to help your bottom line as a company as a whole. And it's just also going to bring the environment so much better. How many times, and you guys can clap, anyone that's been in corporate America, or even even if you've started your own business, but you have employees, thanks, Dave. Even if you have employees where you go, right, you go into an office, you're maybe happy to go into an office, but then the people around you suck. And you're like, oh my God, this is like, okay, I don't like this, because those employees are not supposed to be there, because they were not hired correctly, because they didn't do their due diligence. They didn't do the work. And that person needed a job. They maybe interviewed really well. I used to say, and this is kind of funny, I used to say, I could interview to be the president of the United States. I would have no idea what I was doing, but I was a great interviewer. Like, I knew how to sell myself, something that's okay, not on the street, let's just put it out there, but I know how to sell myself. And as that came out of my mouth, I was like, whoa, that's a little, but I know how to sell myself. I know what my strengths and what my weaknesses are, but I know how to make them both a positive. So you're going to have employees that also do that. But if you're not asking the correct question, you're not going to get to the root of if they're the correct person
exactly.
for
Some
your
people
business.
are great interviewers because they hit the things to a T. And again, to a novice interviewer, or even good ones, they're like, well, they showed up on time and they get a firm handshake and they were dressed well and they answered all the questions and, and they graduated from here. And it's like, that's not telling you anything.
Right.
It's like I used to say in my early days of recruiting, this was in the early 2000s when, again, market was crashing. So everyone was running back to get their MBAs, right? And then they were running back to recruiters and they wanted $80,000 out of the gate. And I remember my manager telling me, listen, you got to tell them when you're managing expectations is great. You learned how to earn a piece of paper, but you've done nothing with that piece of paper. So it's kind of the same thing when you're mastering interviews, like you're saying what we want to say, but we really don't know anything. And another great thing to this system is when you hire the right people and you understand who you're working with when it comes to holding people accountable, which is another big area that my firm gets called on a lot, is the accountability piece and getting people to get better results. It's a lot easier to hold someone accountable when you've established a solid relationship right from the start, right in the interview process. It literally starts the second they walk in the door and sit down on your desk to interview for the job. If you do this properly, by the time it comes around that they're maybe struggling and you have to have some uncomfortable conversations, those conversations are a lot easier when you learn how to storytell.
And it's so true. And again, someone out there might be saying storytelling. Oh, this is that creative unicorn word. It's not. I mean, it's what I'm all about. I'm all about storytelling and listening to other people's stories. However, if you can apply a few kind of, and I don't even, we've always kind of went back and forth, but if you can apply a couple different things to the way you're interviewing, the way you're interacting, it really is a story, and it really is almost like a conversation and a dance. It's not like the traditional.
100%. I love it. I don't mean to cut you off, but I get fired up, and here I go with the fired up. A story is essentially a conversation of substance. And when you're interviewing and you're talking to your employees, or when you're on the other side and you're talking to a potential supervisor that you're going to be reporting to, don't you want to have a conversation of substance and really understand what this person is about, what they've been through, how they handle situations? And there's an art to that, and there's a structure to that, and there's a system to being able to have those conversations, not only in your professional life when you're working, but in your personal life, which will get you very, very far. Be the most interesting person in the room. You're very interesting when you can tell a good story. When you're the one that people know are interesting and have impactful things that have happened to them. And the truth is, and I'm going to let Juliet take this over because she's interviewed so many people, everyone has a story. If you're sitting there in the audience and you're like, well, I'm kind of boring, and what have I really done? You don't even know until you get trained on how to tell your life. And then you're going to find you're the most interesting person in the room.
Right. And again, this is not, if you guys are in HR, like tuning out because you're like, yeah, no, we can't do that because of this and this. We're going to be teaching you in a corporate setting. So it is not, again, it's not a therapy session. It's nothing like that. And I'm just going to give you an example. I just interviewed someone for Your Next Stop, one of my, my podcast. And she has this basically beauty line. It's coming out Monday for anyone that wants to hear the whole thing, but it's coming out Monday. But what I said to her, which was really interesting, is I'm excited to try her products. I'm excited. I did try her products, but I would have been excited to try her products because of the products and what their ingredients and the message in it. But the reason why I connected to her is why she started her company. And it came out of a tragic situation and what fired and fueled her up to do it. And that's where I was like, oh my gosh, I need to try these products because of this woman's story. And she kind of chuckled and she said, I so appreciate you saying that. I don't know that I've ever heard it that way, but that's exactly what it is. Stories connect. When you hear someone's story, whether it's a good or bad story, you're going to connect with them in a different level. Not everyone, we're not saying that everyone is, the world is like all together. You don't have to be friends with everyone, but you have a respect when you hear someone's story. You have a respect. And I did, Gina, that's funny that you said that because I was on a podcast and the guy said, I can't wait for you to share your fascinating story. And I was like, I don't really think my life is a fascinating story. But then as I started talking about it and as he was asking me questions, I was like, Okay, I take it back. I've been through stuff that maybe not everyone has been. Has my story, is it as tragic as the next person? No, I haven't had massive tragedy, but I've had things that I've had to go through in life and navigate, and that's why I am who I am. But just because maybe I haven't had massive tragedy, and someone might say, oh, well, that is kind of tragic that that happened to you. But I don't see it that way because it's my life. So if you're sitting there going, yes, I don't have a story, you do, and that's where, I've now kind of really, this is where I'm really good, is I'm able to help connect the dots and help you figure out your story. And so that's why we're so excited about this system. That's why we're so excited about our new show, and why we're so excited to be able to have it here on Fireside, because we can have the audience participation. You guys can come up and ask us questions. We are excited to get people that, as we're continuing, we just really launched this, but as we've been working with HR and recruiting companies and seeing the need that's out there for this interviewing, storytelling, conversational thing to help really change the way people are hiring. I mean, that's really what it is.
I love that you said that, because you're absolutely right. Like, listen, it's not about the tragedy or the trauma that you've overcome in your life. It's about the connection. And early on in my recruiting career, when I took to not just the idea, yes, I absolutely love helping people find jobs and this and that, but what it was really about was I viewed every resume like a diary, because the truth is people don't just change jobs for the hell of it, right? Like something major is going on, and I wanted to know the story of what you were going through. And that's how I learned connection. And after interviewing thousands and thousands of people over the course of my career, I have found that it doesn't matter your age, your race, your sexuality, your gender, your religion, your socioeconomic status, like it doesn't matter. There's a connection that we have to every single human being. And it might be as small as we both love bulldogs. And it could be as large as our fathers died from the same cancer, or something that connects. But when you find that connection, that's when the relationship starts in and out of the workplace. And we are so conditioned in this society to make life look so effortless that that's what we're always doing. And by doing that, we avoid the ability to connect. So that's another thing we're going to teach. We're going to teach how to connect, again, without getting somebody so uncomfortable and so vulnerable that we're, not saying that you have to share this stuff, but once you become very comfortable and confident in who you are and how to share your story, you'll be amazed that literally, and this is what lights us up. And I know this lights Juliet up too. It's like now that we're so good at telling our stories, it's like everyone we talk to, they click on something. And then we bond with literally everyone, because somebody has a bulldog, or somebody just got a divorce, or somebody just moved or got engaged, or like all the fabulous things that happen in life connects us, just as the pain connects us too. And there's always those in-betweens. But when you learn how to build that, this is when it sounds hokey, the world becomes a better place. You enjoy getting up, going to work, because you feel appreciated, you feel understood, you feel like you're valued in personal relationships too. And that's truly the intention behind this system that Julie and I have created, is to bring good into a lot of bad, stressful work environments.
Yes, and I think Dave just said 3 boxers. Dave, I don't know that I knew that you had boxers. I like you even more.
I was like, oh God, there's a connection.
I mean, but that is what it is. And that's, as you guys can hear, the excitement that we get, it's because we are also really excited to be able to share this with more and more companies, because this is what is needed. This is what Gina said. This is what's needed. And it, not the only that is, you can hear one of my boxers.
I was like, is that one of your boxers now?
Someone, usually they're laying right here, but my one had ACL surgery. And so we are, both of them were staying downstairs, but I think someone just came to the door and that's why they're barking. But the thing is, if you also are a man, this is what Gina and I were talking about, and we perfected this because we took this through to talk to so many people, because we are 2 women. We do have a different feel than some certain men. So if men are listening to this going, yeah, no, I don't want to get personal, I don't want to have a conversation. Again, you have to understand what we are teaching in this system. It is not like where you're going to be, opening up about your deepest, darkest secret. No, it's about connecting with someone.
We're not doing psychological assessments on your childhood and, going there, where we are the experts in knowing when to hone in and to teach you what to pull out, what to keep, and talk through so that your most authentic self is coming through and nothing forced. That's another thing too. When you're inauthentic, it's creepy. When you're forcing a story, it's horrible. And that's another thing too. A lot of consultants and systems involve scripts, and it involves everyone kind of trying again. When we go to companies, we all want to be the same, and that's the worst thing you can do, is by being like, we're all robots and cookie cutters here, which isn't the truth, because everyone there's miserable. So it's about really bringing authenticity to your story and your life and what you love to do and what you struggle with, and having a conversation about it. And that's another thing. We want to kind of abolish the word interview. You just say that to anyone and it's kind of like you clam up, I'm going for an interview. I don't even want, hiring managers saying that. I want you calling people up and being like, I'd love you to come in and have a conversation with us. I'd love to share our story and hear yours. And immediately right there, you're leveling the playing field. People are going in a different mindset and a different energy. And therefore, you are creating an environment where they feel more comfortable to share their truth. When they do that, you're not going to run into 3-4 months, literally weeks down the road. Who is this person I hired?
And that's the thing. I love that you just said that, because anyone that's listening, again, you might be like, oh, this is so interesting. But think about all the people that you know in your life that actually are working for a corporation that need this, that need to know. And if you're also sitting there when you're ready to go out for an interview, or you have to interview someone, how much better do you feel if someone said, hey, I would love for you to come in and have a conversation about this job or about this position? You feel so much better. You feel so much better.
Instead of, we'd like to schedule an interview with you. And you're nervous.
Right. Tense. You get nervous right away.
You're Googling how to show up good in an interview.
Right. And it's so true. So we are going to be here right now. We're scheduled to do once a month. But you know me, it's probably going to be more.
I'll get a call at 6 o'clock in the morning. Let's do it. I got an idea.
Right. So we're going to be coming and sharing as this is growing, and as we are getting in front of more HR and recruiting companies, we are going to share with you guys these experiences. As Gina said, we're going to sometimes have people on that have gone through our system and saying, giving you that. So it's almost going to be like a teachable moment. We also are going to be here to answer questions. So again, if you're in the audience right now and you have a question about this, and as this show grows, this is when it's going to be. It's going to be a new series with YNS Live. If you guys are just kind of tuning in on LinkedIn and you're like, well, what is she talking about? Why does she have all these shows? I have a podcast, Your Next Stop. And I started that in 2019. And then I became an early creator here on Wonderful Fireside. And I have 3 shows, now 4. So, it's just exciting. So I do a series with the NFL. And I will be at the Super Bowl. If you guys have not catch those, you can go to my profile and you'll see YNS Live with NFL Thread. That is with the women, the spouses. And then you can also, and it's about their stories, like how it is to be a spouse, all the times they move, when their husbands get hurt, when they're out of the league. We really dive into people's stories. And then also YNS Live with NFL Thread Pivot, which we talk to the players. We just had Ricky Waters and Katharina Waters. If you have not listened to that, definitely tune in, because that is a beautiful story that so many people have not heard, because it was never really kind of out in the press, because it was very personal. And it's a really great story. And so that pivot, we dive into the players and what it's like to pivot out of the league, where they are now, what businesses have they started, how it was, the depression that they went through, because many of them, most of them go through depression when they leave the league, whether it's on their own, whether it's through injury, whether the league just says your time is up. And so we really dive into that. And so those are stories that I do here on Fireside. And now with the new show, YNS Live with DiStefano Group, we are going to be bringing you more and more stuff. But this is going to be a little different than my other ones. This is going to be really changing the business world, changing how people are. Yeah. And it's exciting. And I'm so excited to be doing this with Gina, because as you can see, she and I have some wonderful synergy, and I know you can hear my dog barking and it's making me stressed. So I need to go see how they are. But Gina, I would love for you to close. And again, if anyone has any questions, please ask, or if you want to jump on stage, we won't put you on video. You can just ask a question up here, and we can go from there. But if not, make sure you're checking both of ours, because Gina is a creator on here now. You can be checking her profile. You can also, in the cookie cutter, you can see both of our LinkedIns. You can also go there and get more information, because that's probably where we're going to be hanging out the most with this part of our series.
Awesome. Yeah, this is great. I am so excited and this is, again, brilliant idea on Juliet's part. We have been out with this. Everyone has a lot of, excitement around it. And she's like, we need to do a show and we need to talk about what's going on in the workplace. We need to have guests and we need to do this now. And I was like, okay. So I'm super excited. Again, sorry about the technical difficulties beginning, but if you ever tuned into the first interview we did couple of years ago, remember I was in a closet and again, last minute interview, and I was not prepared because I didn't know I was going to be on it and I didn't have the right equipment, and I pulled it off though. We pulled just like we did today, and we will figure everything out so it runs smoother. But thank you all so much for listening and joining us, and we're just so excited to really get this out and the word out and have as many people and organizations as we can.
Changing one organization at a time. That's what we're going to be doing. And when Gina's talking about being in a closet, that's where she recorded. And because someone might jumped in and we're like, wait a second, what's happening here on the show? And I don't even think I did video because I think I was actually
and I don't think it needed to be closet. I think you said you needed like a dark space, you needed quiet, and I had no idea what was happening. And I find myself in my kids' dark closet. It was like not even a real closet. It was like one of those cubby spaces.
I love it.
With my phone propped up yet.
But the story, I mean, it was the story.
It's all about the story. Exactly. Nobody cares until they started hearing the story, and that's what mattered. And that's what, again, got us to where we are today. So
exactly. So stay tuned. Make sure you're following both of us so you guys can hear about when we are jumping on again, because again, we're going to be trying to do this at least once a month to bring you all of the organizations that we have changed and what this process is. But if you guys also know people that are in recruiting, know people that are in HR, hiring managers that you're like, you know what, they need to hear this, please put them in contact with either of us and we will, schedule a call to do the presentation, which is really fun. I have to say, it is a really fun presentation. Yes. Right. So again, thank you for joining YNS Live with DiStefano Group, my new series here, and my new co-host, which I told you you're going to be doing.
So that's the resume.
Yeah, exactly. All right, guys, have a great.